Call the meeting to order for in person, and I believe Steve is online. He was gonna, if not, he's probably trying to join.
He's down on the fog.
There he is. Gonna call the meeting. First item is Tom Madden.
All right.
That's
No.
I know.
First one, quick update. Everything has been running out there as desired. He's been meeting his permit limits. So that's all good. I appreciate everybody for coming out and taking a look at the plant, and it's a pretty basic plant. It's nice to see it. All right. So now we've got a number of things we need to do to close out the project between today and probably a month from now, okay? So the first thing is, and I'll hand this out so you guys can take a look at it. Pass that around, please. The contract with the contractor has got a number of milestones, and I like to officially close stuff out, okay? So one of the first milestones that we have is what we call substantial completion. And what that means is that the work has been done in a manner that the intent of the project is there and it's working. So for example, if you had a street project that the street was paved and cars could drive on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cleaning done or some cleanup and restoration, but the project works as it was designed, okay? So the first thing we have is, what did I just hand out? Oh, I just handed the wrong one out. Let's do this one first. Sorry, hang on to the one I just gave you guys. Pass this around. All right, sorry about that. So what's going on now is a certificate of substantial completion. And what I'm saying, based on what was going on out there and how the contractor was going, is that on October 31st, everything was operating the way it should have operated. At the same time, what we have attached to this thing is what we call a punch list. And those are the items that, so what happens is at the end of the project, contractor thinks they're done, and of course they're never done. So what I do is I walk the project with the contractor and then with some owner reps. And in this case, I walked the project with Donnie and with Neil, since they're the guys who have to manhandle this thing every day. And what we did is we came up with this list of, what is it, 9 items that they had to complete before we said the project was done. So as part of the substantial completion certificate, what I'm saying is that as of October 31st, the plant was working the way it should have, and there was these items that are attached that needed to be completed yet. And all I'd be looking for is however you guys want to do it with regards to concurrence to this, so we can check the box on that. Now, whether Andy just take a whatever you guys want to do, I don't know.
I think that's probably what you do.
Okay, do a motion and then whatever.
To approve the certificate of substantial completion.
Yeah, that it was substantially complete on October 31st of 2024.
I would move to approve the certificate of substantial completion and of other things to be completed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Approve the certificate of substantial completion and punch list. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can you talk more about that drilling of that weak hole?
Yeah, so what we had, and usually it's not an issue, but in this case, because of the, we call it diurnal flows, which means that with Festina at nighttime, there's nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a potential for water to sit in this small section of pipe that is above the frost line. And so what we had the contractor do was drill a couple weep holes in it so that it drains down and there's no water stuck in there at night or whenever, when the weather's really cold. And it only matters like right now, because once they turn off the UV system, it would drain down naturally anyway. The UV system holds, because it's above ground, so it holds the water back, right? So we didn't want that to be any issue during this November period. Because it can get cold historically, maybe not in the future, right? Because of global warming, but, and same thing within the spring, he'll start the UV system up in the middle of March. And there's still potential for some cold weather in March, right? And so this will take care of him having any problems. With a lot bigger communities, it's not so much an issue because there's water going on all the time, right? But there's nothing happening for sign at night. And we just wanted to make sure that that didn't cause a problem. So that's what, and they're really small, so it doesn't affect the performance or anything. It just allows the water to drain out.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question. The next thing we have, so we have the contractor, it has to be substantially complete, and we check that box. The next item is that the contractor has done everything on that punch list that we just looked at, and he is done, okay? I went out there and reviewed things basically last week. November 6th, they were done doing all the items on that punch list. The only thing that they can't do, and we really won't allow them to do, is there's some silt fence out there yet. I mean, the grass hasn't picked up, so they'll come back and take care of that as part of the warranty item on the project, right? We're not going to hold back the project because the grass isn't growing and they can't take the silt fence down, but they'll come back and get rid of it. So basically what I'd like to let you guys know that as of November 6th, they've completed all the work that they need to complete to be done with this project.
So we need a motion similarly on the notice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to approve the notice of acceptability of work.
Second that. There's a motion second to approve the notice of acceptability of work. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Pass it unanimous.
All right, so one quick reminder, follow-up, whatever it is. So the date of substantial completion that we just passed previously was October 31st. That is the beginning of the 2-year warranty period on the project. So I have, and I don't expect you guys to really care so much about that because you're not out there every day, right? But I have talked to Donnie and I have talked to Neil, and what I've instructed them guys to do is that for the next 2 years, if anything isn't right out there, call me first, because I know, Donnie's very diligent and he wants to get things going, right? And I want him to pull back because I don't want them to pay for something they don't have to, right? And he's just such a go-getter to get stuff done. That's really hard for him to wait for that stuff, right? So I've talked to him a few times and I've just said, make sure that you and Neil give me a call and we'll get it taken care of. There's a number of things that the 2-year warranty covers, the things the contractor had their hands on. Like they built that shelter, they poured concrete, they backfilled. So if the shelter fell over or if there's a lot of settlement out there, they got to come back and fix that for the next 2 years. That's part of the project. Separate of that is the equipment warranty, okay? So a lot of the equipment out there only has 1-year warranties on it. And one of the things, like right now, for example, the UV system, it works perfectly, except the cleaning system's got a bend in it, all right? So the manufacturer came out, they looked at it, said, yeah, guys, so November 15th, which is like tomorrow or Friday, whatever it is, when they take the UV system offline, the contractor's coming back, they're pulling that part of the unit out, it's getting shipped back out to California, they're gonna fix that. It'll be back installed before March 15th. And that unit, I believe, actually has a 2-year warranty on it anyway. But so what I'll help Donnie and Neil understand is the difference between manufacturer warranty and the contractor warranty. But no matter what, I don't want them doing anything until they talk to me because I don't want to jeopardize warranty. What a lot of people think is like, well, we'll fix it and we'll build a contractor. It's like, if I was a contractor, I'd tell you to go take a hike because I could have done it for half price or whatever, right? That's the argument. So I said, don't do anything until we talk and then we'll get some direction going. So that's kind of the deal with that, and I think everything will be taken care of and it'll be good. So any questions on where the project is with regards to warranties and
That UV system.
Yeah.
Is a There's a sweep that goes across, cleans it, is that the deal?
If you can imagine,
Putting pressure on the wall.
yeah, so if you can imagine like the wipers in your car, they got that rubber. So this is just a round one that rides up and down the tube, and the tube's glass. So if it's bent and glass doesn't flex very much, so what would happen is when it would go down the tube, it would break the tube. And so they stopped using the cleaner, and for right now, it's not a big deal. The cleaner is there to get rid of any kind of slime buildup from algae, or we got hard water in the area, so it'll start getting calcium on there, so this will help wipe that out too. But like right now, we're at the end of the season, so Donnie will just remove all that stuff. He'll have to clean it manually at the end of every year anyway. But then they'll send that in, they'll put it back in, and it'll either work or it don't. If it don't work, they'll fix it again. So that's got a warranty on it that will take care of things until that's working properly. So no big deal on that. And again, we've got a good contractor on the project, so I would never have any issues with them take care of business. And then we've got an insurance policy on top of that, right? So as part of the project in the contract documents, the contractor submitted what's called a performance bond, and that's valid till the end of this 2-year warranty period. So, and we've had it happen where a contractor actually went out of business, but the bond is still in place because that's a policy they've bought through their insurance company, right? And that's paid for the full 2 years. So we had a project where there had to be some follow-up work done. The contractor didn't exist anymore. So we went through the claim process with the bonding company, and the owner was able to hire another contractor to fix it, and then got paid through that bond process. Okay, so you got a bond or insurance policy on the project to make sure that all the work gets done for the next 2 years, regardless. That's because some people think, well, why would we get rid of the retainage whenever we get the contractor back here? Well, we do have an insurance policy on the project, and there's not a contractor out there that wants a black mark on their bond because that affects their ability to future work. So it's a big deal for them, and it's a big string that we have. So life's good. Nope. Other than you're going to get something, and like I mentioned previously with that, because it's coming out of last fiscal year's federal dollars, which doesn't get to the state until the end of the fiscal year. So that just happened a couple months ago, and then they got to get all their ducks in a row. And Tony, I think it was, or Tracy, one of the two I was talking to that I forwarded an email to Ben on, just said that don't know necessarily what's coming, but something's coming, and it may be after you close on the loan, but rest assured there's something coming. So it's like Christmas, right? Don't know exactly what it is or when it's quite coming, but you are getting something of a deal.
And they are going to close that shed now too.
Yeah.
It was the gravel that we put up so people could peer into the, let's talk about that's kind of going to be sliding down.
Yeah, it might. No, I don't know that we have to necessarily do that. I think what it comes down to is to see how that actually holds up. So the slope there is the natural slope of what that rock can handle right now. Of course, when we get rain and freeze and thaw, it may change that somewhat. And then people walking up and down, it may change it, but it's not going to ever go flat. You can look at the side of the road and stuff and see that. But I think what's going to come down to is, maybe there has to be some touch up depending on how it does act over winter time. But other than that, I don't think we need to necessarily stabilize it. If anything, maybe it's got to be just laid a little bit flatter. And maybe by the time it settles out, it's just flat around the edges, but all the stuff in the middle still can be there, and Donnie can still access everything, and it's still fine. So that, I think that would be in my mind, if especially if the settlement, that we would just have the contractor come back and touch that up as part of the project. If it needs more rock, because that, that was an extra pay item anyways, so they'd have to pay for it anyway if you need more rock. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see how that lasts a little time. It's really hard to tell. He's not driving equipment on it, but he's walking up and down it, right? We all kind of did that. And, there's a potential for that to flatten it some more. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Anything else on that part of the project? All right, so last thing we have today is the final change order for the project. I'm going to pass that. And we kind of gave you a little spoiler there. We added rock around that structure, because it wasn't originally that high in the plans. And what happens is that we get supplier information, they give us recommendations on how things should sit, right? Those recommendations are based on, we want to be able to make a project and a product that is cost competitive. So if they made a product that had to have $40,000 with extra rock around it, it's not as cost competitive with maybe another alternative method out there, right? So they provide us with information recommendations based on, and it would have been serviceable, right? But you had to maybe be a basketball player to make it work out, right? Donnie's not a basketball, he's a wrestler, right? And so to really make it work right, we had to add whatever it was, a foot or 18 inches of rock so we could access that properly. And that's one of those kind of things that when you look at the piece of paper, it looks fine, you know, but when you stand next to it, in reality jumps in, it's like, yeah, he's not going to quite be able to do what he needs to do on that. So this change order here covers a couple different things. One, the rock I just talked about, which was $596 to get that taken care of. Then the force main piping modifications. Now this is not drilling the holes like we just talked about. What ended up happening was and this is a manufacturer's concern after we started up the project. So what happens is when the project gets going, water goes through the UV system, and there's a plate on the end of the UV system that makes the water stay, let's say 6 inches deep, okay? And that keeps the bulbs underwater. And that's all fine and dandy. What they were concerned about was, and this goes back to nothing happens at Festina in the middle of the night, right? Is that when everything turns off, that water drains back down and the bulbs are exposed. That in of itself isn't a problem. What the problem is think about your dishwasher for a minute. So if you wash your dishes and don't have jet dry or something in there, it gets a scale buildup. Now imagine doing that to the same dishes, getting them wet and drying them with hard water 40 times. The scale buildup ends up getting to the point where the maintenance on it is going to increase and the wipers aren't going to be able to take care of that. So what the guy suggested is that maybe what we need to do is do some modifications to the inlet side of that so that when everything turns off, there's always 6 inches of water in there and it never drains back down in the box, okay? Because the force main drains back down. We just talked about that. It has to, because that's a really small pipe. We don't want that to freeze, right? So what the contractor ended up doing is originally the pipe just connected to the outside of the UV system, and that was the end of it. So what they did is where it connected, they cut the hole bigger, ran the pipe in through it, and then made basically kind of like a reverse trap so that the water would never drain back out and it would always stay 6 inches deep and it would keep the bulbs wet and wouldn't have a maintenance issue with them drying out and getting junk on them, okay? So that was $1,205 for that. And then the additional conduits,
Who did that work?
the contractor did, JB Holland. And then the additional conduits, this was again when the guy was there to start up the UV system. The way the thing was delivered, there we've got power to the UV lights and we've got sensors out there. And the sensors, because of the way they work, and I'm not the guy to explain it to you any better than I'm about to. So if you don't get it, it's because I don't know what I'm talking about. Power is regular power like you plug in the wall. Alternating goes back and forth. The sensor is what they call a low voltage sensor. And apparently that if they run in the same conduit, the back and forth of the power out of the wall can trip the sensor and give him false alarms that the sensor's not reading right. So what they ended up doing was taking that wire out of that conduit, putting in a separate conduit so that the power wasn't running with it. And it's not like it wasn't working right, but what might end up happening because of that, the guy said Donnie's going to get, 15 calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when it happens. It never happens at 9 o'clock in the morning when he's working, right? It happens in the middle of the night. that there's an alarm at the UV system, because that's all hooked up to the dialer, and every time the UV system has an alarm, he gets a call on it. You know, so we took that out and put that in a separate conduit so that he wouldn't have that issue, and that was $402.50. The other thing that this does, go down to the middle of the, maybe the bottom third of the page where it says contract status. This change order also changes the dates of the project to match the dates of the two things we just did, substantial completion and final completion. He went a little bit over on the project timeline, and I went ahead and put this change order together thinking that you folks would be okay with that change in timeline. There's no harm, no foul. It doesn't cost the county any more money. The grant for CDBG was extended, so it doesn't impact that at all. So what ends up happening is this: if you didn't grant a schedule extension, that would mean that by contract, you're going to go after liquidated damages on the contractor. And if you were going to do that, you would have things to put on the table that cost you money. And you don't have that, okay? So either we have to go for liquidated damages or we have to extend the contract. There's no gray area. And you have no extra costs in the project or anything like that that are associated with the schedule that you would go after the contractor on. So my recommendation would be to extend the schedule because there's just nothing there. You know, guys, hopefully you agree with that. Now, it'd be different if, let's say, because of this, you lost $20,000 for the CDBG money, or because of this, you had to pay interim financing charges, okay, and you had actual bills. Then we're not going to let it go. And that's a discussion that we'd have prior to having this other conversation. And we'd say, what are your charges? What are your costs? And then I'd ask you, based on what that number is, if it's only $2,000, is it worth getting attorneys fired up for $2,000? Because no contractor is going to just say, oh, yeah, okay, I'll take it. You know, they're always going to fight it, right? But I've had projects where we've had hundreds of thousands of dollars in true costs to the owner that end up going to litigation because the contract was late. That's very important. Contract times can be very, very important. In this case, we don't have any expenses or damages to the county or to Festina or anybody, so it really doesn't make any sense not to provide them a contract extension. In addition, they were a very good contractor to work with, but the real catalyst is you've got nothing to go after. I think some people want to, on projects, you know, they're mad, right, that we're late. They still have any costs into it, but they want to spank the contractor a little bit. But you really have to have something to go after them on to do it right. Any questions on how that?
So what date is this thing extended to?
Same dates that we just talked about. Substantial completion would be, yep, October 31st, and final completion be November 6th.
I believe to approve that contract extension. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change order number 4, which includes the contract extension. Is there any further discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'll make it copy since you get a signature.
To close things out, and I don't know, you guys let me know how you want to do it. I've got, I think, 4 DNR forms that have to be filled out and signed. Do you want me to present them at the meeting a month from now and go through them and have you guys sign it? Or since it's part of the project closeout procedure with your funding, are you already all in that grouping where we've approved the funding and that includes everything that follows to close out the funding? I don't care how we do it. I want to know how you want to do it.
More information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And it has to,
My opinion. The group one.
I think we wouldn't have to wait a whole month if it comes in a couple of weeks if you want to.
well,
Schedule before then.
I've got to present the final pay request, which is release retainage, which by Iowa rule is until 30 days after today anyway. So it might as well be a month. We'll take care of everything. So quick high level stuff, what it is, thank you, is a certification that, you guys complied with the Davis-Bacon requirements, which is the wage stuff. That was all monitored by Upper Explorer Land because CDBG has to have that. So what happens is that Diana is going to give me all the information that will allow you to have faith that it was covered. Okay. The next thing is American Iron and Steel that you would certify that's done. So I've got all the certifications. I can give you rest assured that was all met. We've had an on-site inspection by the DNR. Everything's passed. So everything's in place for you guys to feel comfortable to approve that. The other thing is a certification on women and minority businesses. There weren't any on the project, so we just fill out that there were none. You'd sign that. And then the final one, I can't remember what it is. I'll bring it and I'll let you know what it is. At the next the next board meeting, what we have then is we would have a pay request from the contractor basically for this last change order. And then we also have the final pay request, which is release retainage. And since we've approved the project end date already, which was last week, we'll be past the 30 days so the county can release retainage on the project. So that's what we'll have, and then we'll be done, and that's it.
And we won't have to see you anymore.
See ya.
Oh, well, I feel bad about that. We can always get another project going.
We have last one for the fountain.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. You guys are part of the team.
Yeah, but you know.
So that's,
This has been a good project.
yeah, you know, it helps out that we had a great all-around grouping. You got the county's great, the Stein is great, the contractor is great. That helps a project be successful, it really does.
I was surprised at how little square footage it takes. Cool, isn't it? Rather than big sweeps and ponds and lagoons and stuff.
It's very cool. When I equate it to going to Pizza Ranch, you know, maintaining bugs is like maintaining people in a healthy game. You can get everybody to go to Pizza Ranch, you get everything you want in one building, right? Or if you're making all your food, you're going to the grocery store, you're going here, you're going there, and it takes more space. So that's what a lagoon system is like versus going to Pizza Ranch. That's the easiest way to make it sound, right?
It'll take you all night to come up with that metaphor.
No, because I've taken a lot of people on tours, a lot of councils, and they don't understand how we can stand at the front of a wastewater plant and then 100 feet away, the water's clean. And we just force it to happen because we're making everybody happy in a really small area. Life's good. Yeah, a new project, Donnie's gonna really like it. And it'll be set for a long time now because those are lifelong pieces of equipment out there. Good. And from a regulatory standpoint, you'll get a new operating permit that'll have a 5-year window on it. And then at the very soonest, if the DNR changed any water quality standards, there would be a compliance schedule in the next permit. So there's always this 10-year, I'm calling grace period, right? Just the way the permits roll, because they're 5-year cycles, that you wouldn't have anything happen for at least 10 years from a regulatory standpoint. Can't guarantee anything after that, but 10 years is pretty clean. All right, see you guys in about a month.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks.
We'll see you. Take care.
On the agenda, Michael Kueny, our county engineer, is insulating fish.
Good morning.
Good morning. The UEI from last week, the UEI number for FEMA resolution, that board first order of business for me.
Anyone want to take action on this resolution we discussed last week?
But again, remind me what it
It's
was.
to let them use the county-wide entity number, unique entity number is the UEI.
For having
FEMA.
I moved to use the county number.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution FEMA. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to remind everyone that the whole point of this is just a temporary basis. So that the FEMA is asking us to have separate entities between the county and the secondary roads department. So this is just temporary so that we can get our paperwork done this year.
Is a roll call? Mark?
Aye.
Shirley?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also passes unanimous.
And the next resolution that I am putting forth is the winter maintenance resolution. I sent an email to the board. I don't know if you need discussion on that, but we'd like to get that passed. So,
In the past, we didn't close the roads that had electrical power lines next to them.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. So,
The roads that do not have any houses on,
correct.
have a power line going adjacent to them.
Okay,
We plowed those because I'm under the impression that we couldn't shut those down. This is the access to the power line in case it would go off.
that is not something I considered. It is not something that I'm aware of I'm aware of as being an issue. Before we pass this, I can look into that further and have that discussion.
I would just like to have it looked into because
Yep.
when Lee was around, I thought he said there was a law that had to provide
This
service.
is why it's good to have this discussion
And I could very well be wrong.
I'd be happy to look at it. It probably won't be today, but
Wait a week then.
yeah, we might as well wait a week and get that
Okay.
Sure.
cleared up.
Just to clarify it,
Yep,
and if it's fine, I'm fine with closing those roads.
perfect.
But
It could be on a on-call basis, clear the road out if they need to get there.
Yeah,
yeah,
Correct.
and that's a possibility
You know.
too. But I know that was the policy that Lee had, whether it's
and
law abiding policy, I don't know.
I don't know, and honestly, this isn't being worked on. We're trying to look at ways to save money, and so that's the route we went down, and I'll look into that. So
Let's
thank you,
just look into it and do it next week.
and let's make sure we get it
It's not
right.
gonna snow
Yeah.
for another 2 months anyway, so we're good.
It's gonna be 60 degrees until Christmas, right?
At least
Get a certification on that, yeah.
I did a construction project.
I moved. I can't promise.
Oh, man. So I'll get into the report. Bridge 5, striping and erosion control, is all that's left on Bridge 5. Didn't get a hold of the contractor yesterday to see if they had striped it yesterday. I just
The striping is done.
did they get it done?
When they had silt fence left to put up.
Mhm, and some
And
mulching.
we'll leave that closed until they did that. Otherwise, they had to provide a flagger while they were doing it.
Okay,
This is my understanding.
you've had contact with somebody I haven't. So,
And that's why they just thought it would be easier to leave it closed. I think they'll be done by the end of the week.
oh. Like I said, it's been on my list of things to do today, is talk to people, so, we've had the conversation that I haven't, so.
Well, I get a lot of people from the area that are pretty concerned when it's gonna open, so I can.
I haven't
stay
said
up
that.
on top of
You
that one.
guys were, you know why it wasn't open.
It takes time and I see their point, so.
Bridge 208E, we are looking at, last week I was gone on funeral leave, and didn't quite get them in, so they'll be going out today or maybe tomorrow. W14, they're throwing lots of crew members.
Yeah, I was up that way.
It was a convoy on Friday, so they are doing all they can.
We're working.
And then in Fort Atkinson, they'll be paving sidewalks and curb ramps, I think, today. So we have 3 of our guys up there on that project today. Subdivision, I'm getting it to that as I can. Upcoming union negotiations, we have a crew member that I would like to talk to you guys about. in private, but, just want to work with you on union negotiations. Probably then we should probably meet sometime this week.
I don't know that I need to be involved.
Well,
Maybe.
I need your counsel perhaps more than anything.
Okay.
FEMA events, this is the same as last week. We did have an official submittal this week. Ridgeway shop improvements, that's moving along. Same thing for this safety grant. I have some deadlines coming up here in 2 weeks.
What's the, go back to the Ridgeway shop, the roof, are we replacing the roof or just
We
adding
will have
on to the
to,
roof?
we will have to replace the roof. It is leaking too bad for us to try and use it. So we will,
On the whole, everything out there or just the?
just the pole barn. So I have things that we're improving. So it's just the half that we're improving.
Yeah.
We use the same Raptors, just replace tin or what are they?
That's the idea, yes.
Save the tin.
Probably reuse it inside, the wall insulation.
Walls, yeah.
Yep. Yes, shouldering operation should be finished. I hear it's supposed to be finished today. And then the resolution that you said to put off until next week, we was prepared over the last week and a half. So that's the engineer's report.
On W14, how wide that shoulder, gravel shoulder will it be? Just
They're targeting, I think, I'm going off memory here, but I think they're targeting 2 feet everywhere. But
wow.
They can't get that because it's just too steep and it's,
Yeah.
and
Main ones are some these, yeah. Get some.
the other problem is it's going to take a couple years, this year and then also perhaps next year for it to compact the shouldering operation that we did, because we didn't have a whole lot of sheep's foot roller. It was just rolled over with tires, and so you're going to see some slumping. So we'll probably end up having to put some more rock on it. Maybe not next year, but soon.
Yeah.
So nature of the beast, though.
Yeah.
Good thing we have a shouldering rig.
I am so surprised that there's a lot of people who have said good things about it. So that's very positive.
Yeah.
So it was one of those nervous things. It's a new thing. Fillmore counties has a very similar rig, and they said good things about it. So it shouldn't be as a surprise, but you look at it and you feel a little bit intimidated. So, but yeah, it worked well. I watched some of it when they first did it on Big Canoe, and
Will we be doing our own shouldering then on W14?
I'll have to figure that out. It's going to be, for the actual project W14, that's all been contracted out. But in the future, the near future, I'll call it, that'll be something that we'll have to weigh. So that is the engineer's report. I had a couple of family needs and was not here as much as I'd like to be. So
It's understandable.
Yes.
It's understandable.
any questions for me? Steve?
No questions here. Just stay on John Deere so they don't move all of our maintenance down to Mexico.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Sean then.
That Bridge 208, that'll be in next year's budget or?
That's funded federally, so
okay.
that's kind of not
That's why I had to
budget. That's not a secondary roads.
deal. Okay.
Which bridge is that again?
It's
South,
down by Jackson
I know
Junction.
that one.
Yeah, it's,
Had to do the
That's the one
dog
with
study
the
and all that.
Archaeological.
yes. So we're looking at still at a February letting on that, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
I don't understand how those chiefs can keep getting that lucky though. Mike, I'll just tell you that.
I didn't have a chance to watch it this weekend, but I saw my ESPN notifications and it was.
All you had to do was watch the last second.
Yeah. Last 1 second, yeah, the last 2 seconds.
All right, next up on the agenda, a few miscellaneous items. First of all, action on the compensation board. I've been laying this over for a few weeks. And we will discontinue the compensation board is my view. I know, were you guys still?
My
still-
thought.
I don't know if you're still in the same places or not.
I'm still in my same place, so.
I'm still on mine to
It brings
continue.
no cost involvement of our community, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a compensation board.
I spoke to one person that was on the compensation board. She felt that it really wasn't doing due justice. And described quite a few things to me that went on it. And
Want to share those?
no, I don't.
Why?
It's kind of in confidentiality when she was talking to me.
Well, that truly shouldn't be mentioned.
What's that?
Then it really shouldn't be mentioned.
I'm just stating that one person. I'm not stating names. I'm not gonna say-
While we're not stating names and not stating conversations, I've had many conversations with people who do think we should have a compensation board,
And we've had a.
including those who have been on it.
You want failure to take an action is the same as voting it down, but you want to, I mean, if there's two people who want to make a motion and then call a vote, then it would kind of be official. Otherwise, it could be brought up again. So I guess it's
I
up
just
to you.
keep going back to Iowa code that talks about leaning into transparency when you have the opportunity to do that. And again, I've said it all the time, when we have an opportunity to be open to our community and involve our community in decisions, we're all better for it. Whole county is served well through that. So I'm still in favor of having a compensation.
I guess since the state brought it up, there must have been a lot of questions about the compensation board. I mean, otherwise they would never brought it up. The issue up.
The push behind it, from what I've understood and what I've read, the push behind it is to put the power in the board of supervisors ultimately, and vendettas can be had through that new power. The compensation board keeps it clean and above board. That's why I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, my opinion is that we leave, stay as we are with no compensation. This board will go through it as a board ourselves. And then next year we have opportunity to do it, to make that change if we so desire. I agree with what Mark said. I am concerned why the legislator, they decided that there was a good reason to eliminate it. And I am, that's the opinion, my current opinion.
My opinion is this legislative body has hurt Iowa in many ways, including hurting Iowa counties, and this is another way to do that.
I understand your opinion.
Thank you.
And I also think having a compensation board, they do the research, they look more broadly outside Winneshiek County in comparison to what's happening in the
Well, if
state.
they did, then why are we're number 43rd in the state? And most of our deals are like 19 and 20 rated. That's where their pay scale is at compared to the,
What are you saying?
they're like 19. Treasurer recorder, they're 19th and 20th, and we're 43rd.
Who's
I mean,
we?
that's where
Who's we?
the Winneshiek County is
In
43rd in population.
Okay.
And they get paid for what the big counties are.
I don't understand what you're saying.
They're like 19th, we're rated like 19th and 20th for pay. So they're up there with the top end of the counties.
Do you think our elected officials are paid too much?
No, I just say they're rated. I didn't say that.
know
I
what-
just said they're rated way above where we stand.
But that would be saying that.
Well, yeah, well, it is. It's a fact. You can go look.
No.
It's not a secret. It's,
All right, is anybody gonna make a motion?
I'd make a motion to
I think you don't need to make a motion.
Motion,
You
no,
don't want.
I don't
It
want
would have to
to
be a motion to adopt the.
adopt
I would
the
make a motion.
compensation board back.
I would make the motion to adopt the compensation board, reinstate the compensation board of this.
And I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to keep the compensation board. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say
It
aye.
would be a resolution.
Oh. Art?
Aye.
I,
Art?
No,
Steve?
No,
Next up, lease for rural waste collection in Bluffton.
This is an update, because your current lease talks about the current schedule on Mondays, so this is just an update to say it's gonna go to Tuesdays, starting January 1st, and updating, the old lease had a different name on there because of the change in ownership. Anyway, this will clean that all up now.
I move to approve the lease for the rural waste collection in Bluffton.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the lease for the rural waste collection in Bluffton. Is there any further discussion? None. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, discuss possibly act on compensation for Kayla Hageman for additional duties performed.
Scott is back today, so it would be for weeks leading up to today, and we could retroactively compensate her for performing as the director in his absence if you want. That was brought up last week, so I put it on the agenda for discussion this week. I think Steve had some ideas.
Do you want to take that, Steve?
yeah, my idea was that we compensate her at a percentage of the difference between her existing wage and the matrix wage for that position while she was filling in temporarily. She obviously did not do all of the duties. That would be impossible, but she did a significant amount and kept things going forward. So I would suggest that we look at something. I think Ben gave us some numbers that would be in the range of, was it roughly $300 a week, Ben? That would be a percentage.
80%, is it, or 75?
It's hard to, it isn't apples to apples because she's an hourly employee and your salary, but it was like little over $300 a week. If you gave her a 40 hours at the beginning salary of the new person. So, you could go to, I think it was 85 or so percent. If you went 300, or you could go for a number. I think just to keep it clean, you should just say X number of dollars for this many weeks, or what would be a total, rather than trying to say a per hour rate, because then we have to go back and calculate.
I would make a motion that we approve retroactively till FIFC today. Scott is back. $300 per week.
We have a motion and a second to give Kayla $300 per week while she was acting as supervisor at recycling. Is there any further
And-
discussion?
Yeah, I want to reiterate that this is a one-time situation and does not apply unless the Board of Supervisors, for any future occurrence that may happen, approves of it. Otherwise, we're not making provision for someone to receive extra compensation if someone goes on vacation or something of that nature. This is
Can I just call it an exception to policy?
Yes.
Maybe an exception to policy, and so they would still, in future, would have to still follow the policy unless they get approval by the board.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Sounds.
And for the record, she was forced into the position by medical. So, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Who was opposed? You two made made the motion and seconded.
Yeah.
Next up, discuss plan for replacing county treasurer.
So Andy sent out some paperwork the last time you did this. You did an appointment. Doing an appointment is the cheaper and way to do it, obviously, but it doesn't take away authority because the public still has the ability to petition for a special election if they don't like your appointment. So it seems like that would be the recommended strategy, but you could skip the appointment and go straight to a special election if you so choose. I think that what you should discuss today is which way you want to do it, and if you want to do an appointment, kind of start setting up a timeline of procedures for you. You want, last time I think we set out a people who could submit a letter of interest and resume by a certain date, and then you did some interviews, and then
I think that would be the way to go if we so choose the appointment, which I'm in favor.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the appointment.
So we would still ask for interviews,
Yes.
Yeah.
for applications and then make.
Yeah.
yeah, and then decide it. I mean, if you only have one, you maybe don't need to do an interview if it's somebody you want that, you know.
Can that include in that process Brenda's involvement and her recommendation?
I think it could, but I don't know that she wants to. I think she'd rather stay neutral and.
Especially just because she stated that there were several in the office
Yeah.
that she thought were capable. I don't
Yeah.
think she would like to be the one picking and choosing, but I'm not gonna speak for her.
I think it would be important, and I think several people have talked about ideas on other changes that could be made, a staffing situation, have things changed where they're getting more online rather than in-person traffic, not doing driver, taking appointments for driver's license, not doing CDLs, some of those things. I think the last time with Brenda, they
cut a staff.
cut a staff.
Yeah, because Brenda was appointed treasurer and she didn't hire anyone.
Could that potentially, what's the possibility of that happening again now, but not cutting the county short on services, but looking at how things have changed?
Yeah,
And
you can
if more
streamline
things are
things so much
online,
easier.
somebody's not standing in line forever because more things are coming in virtually. So I'm not making a judgment either way, but I think it should be talked about with people who
Looked
work
at
there
when we're doing it.
and say, how could we cut and maybe move a position when we have a chance to now.
So I'm taking it that everyone is in favor of the appointment. Are you also, Steve?
Yes, I think, what kind of a timeline would you suggest, Ben? Are we talking about, say, 2
Well,
weeks?
to get a notice in the paper, probably, because I'll have to have Andy write it up. It's gonna happen, not gonna happen in the paper till next week, so you probably want to have it in there a couple weeks. I'd say you'd probably want maybe letters of interest and resumes by December 6th at the earliest, so you can start going through them on the 9th. You could go another week, but then you're pushing kind of close to Christmas for interviews.
And then if the public petitions to have an election, how many signatures would that require in order that we do?
Yeah, it's 10% of the number of votes for president or governor at the last general election. So it would be based on the number of votes.
About 1,400
Yeah. I think it's about 12,
signatures.
but yeah. Closer to 1,200 signatures.
And when would that petition be due?
You would, traditionally, they could petition for it before you even make the appointment, but traditionally they'd wait till you make the appointment, and that when the appointment is made, then it's 14 days after that appointment that the petition could be
I'm not saying.
submitted, right? Usually they would wait to see who you appoint to see if they like that choice before they submit a petition, but they could submit a petition anytime before then too. So
Refresh me, when was Brenda's last day?
January 3rd. So I'll have Andy, he sent out a draft resolution, but he said he could put in some dates in there. So what dates do you think you want? And I'll work it up to get submitted for next week's paper.
To have everything in by the sixth, I think is a good,
Yeah,
Mhm.
don't want to go any farther back than that.
Then you can look at those and decide on, probably on the 9th,
Yeah.
if you want to do interviews or if there's only one or how you want to do it at that point. Okay. I'll get that ready and get it ready to be printed next week then.
Yeah, I move that we ask for letters of intent with a deadline of December the 6th.
I couldn't hear you because there's a mower. Just a minute, okay?
I don't think you actually need a motion today because we'll get an official resolution that Andy will prepare for next week. As long as we know what information to put into that resolution, we can get it ready for next week. I mean, if Steve wants to make the motion, we can. I think you're gonna still make it next week, again, to make it.
I don't know.
Thursday next week.
Consent agenda.
The minutes and the claims.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous.
I think I've got a signed claims statement.
Oh, yeah, we talked with DHS last Thursday and they're moving ahead. They're talking with John in his office to do the IT, get that done, and
It sounds like it will be.
gonna happen here nice before the end of the year.
That's great.
Because the ICN network from Luther to the building is in fine shape. That works fine. They tested all the drops inside the building. I think there was maybe one or two that were a little bit of issue, but majority of them all worked just fine. So they don't have their own IT person yet, but they're borrowing one from the Cedar Rapids area, and he's gonna come up here and
Work with John.
to work with
John,
John.
yeah.
So
Great.
it all seems like
Good
it's
news.
moving along really good now. And we finally got to have a meeting.
Yeah. And the only thing we gotta do down at the building is move the door from the north side of the office there to the south side for Spectrum, so then Spectrum ain't walking into DHS to
Yeah.
just be clean.
Makes
That way
sense.
they'd have the
That way-
door on their south side into their office, and we just moved the door, and I talked to a gentleman, well, and he said they could, I wanted to brag, said I just bring it up here before they do it.
Just the
That makes
privacy part of it, yeah.
Yeah,
That way Spectrum walks into Spectrum and not,
not
Yeah,
into
into
DHS, it'd just be nice, you know.
so that seems like it'd be fairly simple.
Yeah.
Committee reports. Like I said, I had Wellington. They didn't think the well was capped, but obviously it is because it was in the claims.
I
So-
see that there's a P and Z meeting tonight at 7. And Northeast Iowa Community Action Personnel meeting this week. The natural resources study that we got presented here from Rachel Brummer Luther and Wendy Stevens on P and Z is also going to be presented this week at 7 p.m. at Pulpit Rock Brewing Company. And then next week at 7 p.m. on Wednesday night at Pivo Brewery in Calmer. And those are public, open to the public presentations.
That'll be the same presentation they did for us, basically.
Yes.
Shirley, could you repeat what that is?
Yep, the natural resource, not natural, resources, Winneshiek County Resources Study that the Planning and Zoning Commission had Luther do over the last 2 years. It started before COVID, but then was on hold. They completed it and they gave us a report on it here in this room. They will give reports to the public again on this Thursday at 7 p.m. at Pulpit Rock Brewery and next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. at Pivo Brewery in Calmer.
That was the one that had those community input meetings around.
Shirley, is there a printout of that?
There is, did we post it on the website yet?
and you
I
have
was talking
time.
to it.
There is a printout, and we'll make sure we get that posted on our website so that the public can go through that. You can also get a copy of it from Rachel Brummel at Luther. I think I have a copy somewhere that I'd be happy to share, but yeah.
And, meeting with, John, with 18th or 25th, which one's gonna work for you, Shirley?
I haven't heard back from them yet. They're both
18th would work better for me.
Yeah.
So
I told them both days work best.
Okay.
So did you get back to them? in
I
an email?
didn't, I was gonna check with you.
Oh,
So I'll
I
get back.
emailed back. Either one works for me.
Okay. I'll get back to him on the 18th. I will not be here December 2nd. Just a heads up. And, looks like who's all gonna be here tomorrow morning? Cameras.
I just need at least 3, and it's gonna be,
Like here.
I can be here too.
If you three are coming, then I can skip it.
I'll be here.
Okay.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Now you don't have
there'll
to
be
have
lots of
a public
signing.
meeting.
Yeah.
But it has to be public meeting, so there's 3.
Oh, right.
Loosen up my wrist.
Yeah, listen up your left wrist, that's right. There's a whole bunch of certificates to sign, 1 for each office, 2 for the offices, state and federal offices, and 1 for each county office, and there's all the township trustees and all that stuff. It's gonna be a whole bunch of.
You can
Signing.
read your name on the first one, but by the last one, you.
This is a scribble, yeah. December 30th and 23rd, there was just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
visiting before the meeting. I just want to know which days you want to have meetings or don't want to have meetings. Traditionally, you've skipped the week between Christmas and New Year's, but that's completely up to the board, how you might want to do that.
I think I agree with what Mark said earlier when we were talking about it, that if we have one on the 23rd and not one on the 30th, then we're not going 2 full weeks without meetings. I think one
Sounds
is
good
good.
for now.
Half on the 23rd.
Or should we skip the 23rd, do the 30th? Because that, I mean, if people are gonna do the
I won't be
Christmas,
here.
the 23rd or 30th.
30th, I will not be here.
I may not be here for the 23rd.
mean, the 23rd one maybe is right day before Christmas Eve, or New Year's Eve ain't quite as family.
It's completely up to you guys what you want.
I would say the 30th and
Well, I would probably not be here on the 23rd.
third. I don't know. I just, one or the other, we,
Steve, any input?
I'll be here on both of them, so it doesn't matter to me.
you're both, but.
I think what I would do if one of us is missing on either one of those days, just hold off any major decisions for a meeting where we're all back in January.
I just need to know when to post agendas, and
Right.
and when to have Tony come down, because I won't be here either of those days.
I would say that, I would
It's up
say
to
do
you.
it, I'd say do it the 30th that way, because the 20, I mean, if people got their Christmas that weekend and the next whatever, or what do you guys think? Or
Or
I'm
skip them
completely
both.
open either way. I'll be here whatever day there's a meeting.
And we could not put anything on either of them and then only call one if we have some kind of emergency or something that comes up that needs to be
I think
addressed.
that would be great.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. If there's
So
some
just-
issues.
So if someone just wants to get on for a funding request, I'll put them off till January or get them on on the 16th. But if it's something where Michael needs a decision made, then we'll have to call a meeting.
Sure.
Yeah,
Because I agree with Mark. I do think a lot of people travel or.
the Christmas is, the Tuesday, I mean, it's, yeah,
Because then you could take off on
Early,
Friday
yeah.
and you'd have the whole week, yeah.
That's true.
yeah.
Be
Yeah.
some.
And so we'll probably then schedule claims the 16th, the second claim sessions, so that aren't, because normally that would be the 23rd, but we will just put it on the 16th, so we get 2 in December.
And either one would be available online, so if you needed a quorum, one of them
Yeah.
could be online if need be.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I'll avoid any routine agenda items for either day and only call the meeting if there's an emergency. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Steve, I'll put your paperwork in your, pay number here.
Okay, thank you, thank you,
We threw a claims in there for you too, so you can look them over.
thank you.
Get your truck started?
Yeah, I think so that.
Office hours again today.
Had a lot of that information.
Yep.
Monday on
It
seems like.
I don't know when the actual construction started.
It's been that way, right?
I mean, they've been working on it for a couple of years as far as planning
Oh, sure.
and engineering and so on, so,
I think.
I'm surprised you started.
okay,
But,
Okay, look at you.
yeah.
if I, just to not report some.
District.
Started this summer.
By a lot.
Yeah, and then completed
Opposite end.
November 6th. Yeah,
Great.
yeah, thank you.